Hey y'all, if you clicked on this video, it's because you want to watch me build my portable winch setup. I'm just on my way back from town, made a trip to Harbor Freight and Menards. So at Harbor Freight, I bought a winch, I bought a receiver with a clevis hook end, and then a winch mounting plate. All in at Harbor Freight, I spent $214 for everything I needed there. And then at Menards, I spent another $35 for hardware to mount up the receiver on my trailer that I'm going to need to plug it into. And I also bought two cedar fence posts that I can cut in half and I can use as rollers. Now, I'm just doing this all from, picture inside of my head, but I think that this is going to be a really, really good setup specifically for my problem, which is I had a guy contact me on Facebook, said he had 5 big mature white pine trees that he wanted to know if I wanted them for anything. I was like, well, shoot, yeah. I need to build a new chicken coop this spring, and those pine trees make great lumber to do just that. So I drove over to this guy's house, and these are some big logs. I mean, the biggest one, over 28 inches in diameter, cut to about 10 feet long. I'm figuring these things weigh somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 pounds because they're wet, of course. And I don't have anything, even my mini excavator's not going to be able to move those. So I needed to come up with something to, be able to skid those logs up on my trailer and be able to move them. So this portable winch setup, I think, is going to fit the bill. I've done something like this in the past. When I lived in North Carolina, I would buy permits to go cut firewood at the state forest, but you couldn't drive off of the road to get these logs. Some of them were pretty big. And so I built a frame with a receiver in it that would strap to a tree with a car hauler strap. And then I mounted a 2,500 pound ATV winch to a receiver and then would pin it to that frame. Hook it all up to a car battery and then put a choke strap on the log, pull it up beside the road, buck it up, load it on the trailer. Really saved my back. I'm going to do something similar with this, but I want to be able to put a carry handle on it. And then if this works out the way that I want it to, I'm going to buy an 8 or a 10 amp hour battery to put on the unit as well and make it completely wireless. Meaning I can put that thing in the back of my truck or on the trailer and plug and hook it up, whatever I want to pull, and, just hit the button and start pulling. I won't have to fiddle around with car batteries or, try and wire it to my truck or anything like that. So if this is something that you think you might be interested in too, stay tuned. As soon as I get back to the house, I'm going to show you everything that I bought for this project, and then I'll show you how I put it all together. And then I'll make another video to show you how well it works. So stay tuned. All right, so here's what I got. I scored a Badlands ZXR 3500 ATV winch at Harbor Freight. I also bought this steel clevis hitch mount at Harbor Freight. Now the winch came with a mounting plate and a fair lead. And of course, here's all my hookups and things for the winch. I'm going to have to find a way to mount all of that, but kind of here's what I'm thinking so far. I'm going to take this fair lead and I'm going to mount it on top of this plate, just like that. I'm going to weld it on. And then I'm going to take this piece of pipe. So this is 3/4 inch black pipe. This is an 8-inch piece, and then I've got a 3/4 inch 90, and then I used another piece of nipple, and then I've got a cap. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to weld that to the top of the fair lead. Now that'll go over top of the winch, and that'll serve as a handle. I'll also be able to mount my handlebar switch for the winch on that handle using that clamp. So again, that'll mount there, on there, and then that'll mount like that. So I'm going to have something that looks sort of like that.
Now I'll have to build some kind of a bracket if I want to do an external battery on this thing, but for now I'll be able to put this thing into a receiver that I'm going to mount on the bed of my trailer and hopefully winch these logs up. I might need to use the other end of that nipple as I want a little bit more room between the top of the winch there and my hand. But now that is the basic idea. So I am going to go ahead and get this ground and prepped and get it tacked up and see what it looks like. And when I've got that done, I will be right back. All right, so I got this thing tacked up. You can kind of see the idea here, what I'm going for. Now, this fair lead is just stamped in bent sheet metal, so I'm not under any illusion that that's going to be sufficient to hold that. What I'm going to do is come back and gusset plates down to each of the corners to strengthen that up. And then once I figure out the battery tray that I'm going to put behind here, whether this just comes off as an offset tab and then goes over and the battery sits on the other side behind the motor, or what, I'm planning on putting another extension down here as well, just to kind of box that in and really make that stout. But you can kind of see the general idea of what I'm going for here. Again, this is going to plug right into a receiver, and then I got this so I can put a clevis in there, and then or I can put a snatch block in there to double over and basically get 7,000 pounds of pull out of the thing. So I'm going to work on this for a little bit longer and I'll be back. All right, so after a little more fooling around, you can kind of see what I got going on here. I got the switch mounted to the handle on the top. I'm kind of looping around over there where all the controls and everything are going to be at. I've got the wires wrapped around the motor there. I know that's not ideal, but I've got to use this thing tomorrow. So once I've used it, confirm that it's all going to work, I'll come back and I'll shorten up the wires, go to the box, which really conveniently mounts to the same kind of bolt pattern as the winch to the plate. Now I did have to open up the holes just a little bit, but not much, and it slid right in there. It's mounted nice and tight and secure. I think that might end up being that thing's permanent home. So this is where I'm at so far. Now tomorrow, when I use this thing, I'm going to be running it off of a car battery. So I'm going to leave the battery leads long. About the only thing I need to figure out at this point is to get the leads hooked up so I can plug in the handlebar switch, make all that work. And like I said, I'll come back and I'll shorten all this up and I'll probably drill some holes, run stuff through the receiver, take advantage of that to hide some stuff once everything's all fit and final. But one thing I've kind of learned doing this kind of project stuff over the years is, you worry about how pretty it is after you've confirmed that it works. So I'm going to confirm that this thing is going to work. And then once I've confirmed that it works, I'll come back and I'll grind welds and put my gussets in and, make sure everything is all nice and pretty. And, then I'll show it off again. But let me know what you think so far. I got a few more things I'm going to try and get done to this thing. And I'll be right back with you once I get those kind of situated. Okay, so I know I said I wasn't going to mess with the wiring too much on this just to get it going. But in the case of the harness, it actually made sense to just go ahead and work on it now. I went ahead and clipped the end of the harness off of the handlebar switch and exposed the 3 wires, which are red, blue, and black. And that way I didn't have to use any of the 4-wheeler harness at all. So what I did is I cut it to length, and on the back of the contactor box, there's 3 terminals here. And then the red wire is actually a reference wire for the 12-volt ignition. Because I'm not going to have that on this setup, I did a long loop and I just went ahead and grounded it on the power contactor lead there. So I should get full energy as soon as I put a battery on it. And then I just put spade connector clips on the blue wire and the black wire. Those plugged right in, nice and easy. And I ran the harness just up over the top, and I'll put some wire ties up here. Probably just wire tie it to the handle there for now to get it out of the way. Like I said, when I come back and worry about the aesthetics, I'll shorten everything up, make sure that's nice and tight. But I think this is going to be a pretty good solution. Contactor here is mounted up nice and tight. Everything is pretty well safe from the line pull, and I've got my contactors on there. I think I am pretty close to being ready to plug this thing into the receiver on the back of my truck, putting a battery on it and seeing if it works. So give me a minute to put that on there and I'll be right back. So here I am plugged into the receiver on the back of my truck here. I got a marine battery hooked to it, and I've got the line run out to just a piece of junk that happened to have a eyelet laying in it there. So we're going to go ahead and give it a shot and see if this thing works. We're going to find out together. So there you go. Man, that thing's just running. It's just smooth as silk. I think I might have the switch lead on backwards, so I need to switch that. But man, I mean, it's working great. I don't want to go any further than that. I'm starting to get a little bit bound up because I'm holding the camera. But I noticed when I put it in the receiver there that, this was definitely bouncy. So like I said, once I figure out for sure that it's going to work and meet my needs, which I tell you, based on this test, I really think it is. I need to fab a plate so I can mount a small lithium ion battery back there, and that way it'll be totally wireless setup. Once I get that figured out, then I can put the connecting rod down and get this thing stabled up a little bit. And you can kind of see, I mean, I've got the pin in it. You can see how much room I've got in between there. So more than enough room to go ahead and close that in, and that thing will be rock solid. So next step is to put the receiver on the deck of my trailer and go winch some logs with it. So